And welcome to the Eastern Conference preview. We've been excited about the NBA season starting, and it's starting in just a few days. So I decided let's start, and we're going to start with the Eastern Conference. The teams we're fans of play there, and we're from the East Coast. So why not? And who else to join me besides Wayne Diesel and Deonta? Boys, how we doing?
Oh, great. And I'm from the South. Let's not get it twisted, baby.
It's still the East Coast. It's still the East Coast.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's the eastern side of the United States. It's still counts.
I mean, yeah, but that's almost like people saying, Virginia is considered the South. It's
not. I don't know. I'm sure that but it's all good. I mean, I guess it'd be in the Eastern Conference. It's all good, but no, that boy from the South. But either way, it's all good. Basketball start Tuesday. We'll be ready for it. I'll be ready for it. A wise man once said, basketball is my favorite sport. I like the way you dribble up and down the court.
That wise man was to start the podcast. Why not? So we're going to start by the bottom up. So we're going to go by win totals, obviously just the Eastern Conference, this podcast. And we're going to start with the team projected with the fewest wins in the East. That is the beloved Orlando Magic, beloved by the three fans they have in the Amway Center. I just don't think this Magic team is talented at all. They have some good pieces that I like on the team. We'll get to them in a few minutes, but they're like weirdly top heavy in a few areas where they just have a lot of young talent and not really great separation as far as a roster is concerned. You look at the guard position alone, they have RJ Hampton, Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, and Markelle Fultz. And then at center, they have Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr., and then the only guy who's not young in this entire thing, Robin Lopez. One of the youngest rosters in the NBA. This team is just weirdly constructed, as I mentioned, just because they have a lot of talent, but it just doesn't make sense together, and it seems like they're really stuck in limbo. They don't have much of a direction. Deonta, we'll start with you to start off. This lack of direction to me is a little bit concerning. If you look at other, basement dwellers of the NBA, Sacramento, Cleveland, Houston, Detroit, they're seeming to trend in a positive direction, not just through the draft, but just actual talent that they have on the roster. Orlando has some talent here and there, but this roster just seems so uninspiring.
I mean, yeah. I mean, my biggest question mark is what are they going to do with all the amount of guards that they have? I mean, they just drafted Jalen
Suggs.
Yeah, they just drafted Jalen Suggs this past year. The previous year they drafted Cole Anthony, and I believe either that same year or the previous year before that they traded for Markelle Fultz, and they just traded for who do you say the guy was from?
RJ Hampton.
Yeah. So like, what are they going to do with all four of these guards? Like, you're not keeping all four of them long term. So at some point, you're going to have to move on from somebody. And at this point, it's just a lot of question marks for a very, I wouldn't even call them a mediocre franchise. They're one of the worst NBA franchises ever.
And it's funny because, especially at the end of last year, the rosters they were trotting out on the floor were like basketball reference trivia questions. Like half these guys were kind of NBA journeymen. If Mo Wagner is starting NBA games for you, I'm concerned just right off the bat. And RJ Hampton was also playing a lot of minutes as well. And I mean, he didn't get a lot of rub in Denver, but when he was playing in Orlando, he showed a little bit of a pulse, but probably not a guy I want playing a lot of minutes for a franchise, even when you're trying to actively take like Orlando. And I had Suggs in the top 3 on my big board before the draft, and they got him at 5. So I thought they really lucked out in that sense that Toronto took Scotty Barnes ahead of them. I just think Suggs is ultra talented, so I really think they lucked out. But I think Orlando is kind of in a similar place that Sacramento's been in the last, decade plus here, where they're really bad all the time, but they're never like totally bad enough to get like a top 3 pick. And I feel like Orlando just has to totally commit to tanking and hope the ping pong balls fall the way in their direction, because right now they really don't have that marquee guy. I think Jalen Suggs can be that, but he's not going to be able to do this by himself. And, looking around the roster, the other guy I really like is Mo Bamba, but even then he's only kind of showing his pulse in preseason and showing that he has potential in the limited minutes he plays. They just extended Wendell Carter for 4 years. I don't know why they got him in the first place because, I mean, he's similar to Bamba where, I mean, he was playing decently well when he got a chance, but he also had some serious flaws that he had to work out, and it's really potential-based and whatnot. And then you extend the guy for 4 years. It's just typical Magic bewilderness that I'm not surprised about. Wayne, this team feels like a total under to me. Like the win total is 22.5 at Caesars. I mean, the Magic always seem to win stupid games in the beginning of the year that really propelled them later to, be near that win total. But it just feels like this team isn't good enough to do that. I mean, maybe Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony have a few good games where they light it up and get close to that 22 win total. But this team really feels like an under 21 team.
A couple things. Number one, they got to sign Wendell Carter. That had to happen because A, who the hell's coming to Orlando? B, who's
so just sign anyone? Just it doesn't.
They got it in the office, and C, anybody that's worth anything has always left Orlando, whether it been a Shaq, a Penny Hardaway, a Tracy. Booch just got up out of there. Aaron Gordon demanded a trade. They can't keep nobody. So you got to, hey, man, look, I know we trying. I know we don't have much to offer outside of Mickey Mouse ears and funnel cakes. But if we can give you money to stay, if you play with us. So I get the signing there. And then I got them closer to 17 or 19 wins, which ain't too far off from 22. Because if I'm Orlando, I got about 27 damn point guards. I got 3 centers. I got a small forward, and I got some cheerleaders. So I'm not trying to win nothing. I got a lot of guys, and I don't know what y'all can do. So I'm looking at the Magic. If I'm the coach or front office, I'm just looking at what we have. I'm looking at developing. Damn the wins, because we're not going to be able to compete anyway. So I'm looking at who I compete, who can play, who can work together, who I might like, who feel like might be worth investing something into. Then you do that. And then with some of the excess, you trade that off because somebody's going to need some youth or some cap space or a cap move or somewhere down the line. And then you get rid of what you don't need. So I think this is more about forming your roster and seeing what you want to keep around more so than the wins, because they're not doing nothing this year.
What month does Terrence Ross get traded?
I think he stays all season because you want somebody that can teach the young guys.
You want somebody.
No.
Do what?
I mean, let me see. How many years does he have left on his contract?
I think it's expiring, so it'd be like a title contender once and bench for it.
I mean, they don't really have. I mean, yes, you can keep him. Look,
I'll give it until January. Someone's gonna make a move. Someone's gonna get hurt. Someone needs scoring.
Let me see. So he has looks like from the great Spotrac, he has this year and then next year. So
okay, so 2 years. Okay.
I mean, well, at the same time, I understand. You want to quote unquote learn from a veteran, Wayne, but like, let's be real. How much are you really going to learn from Terrence?
Can I just say something real quick?
Maybe the game, it's only so much. Because they all know how to play basketball, but just learning what to do on the road, what not to do. Some etiquette. Just because he's been around the league, so just how to conduct yourself.
I have a better idea than that, though. Like if I'm Orlando's GM, I'm just gonna do this. If I see a young guy that gets waived because he underperformed, or like he's still young, they don't pick up his contract. So Secretary Demboyo, that recently just happened to Malik Monk in the offseason that happened to. I'm just signing every single one of those guys, like every single one. My roster is just going to be the castaway of forgotten first-round picks. Like I don't care about veteran leadership. You're a dumpster fire. Hope one of these guys hits. It's like I just have all these darts, and I'm just going to throw them at the board until some of them hit. You're Orlando. You just talked about it. No one wants to play for you. So just give some of these young guys a chance.
Terrence Ross, play. They're going to play. I'm not saying start the vets. Shoot. Kevin Durant, he talks about Earl Boykins. He said he did wonders for his career. And we know Kevin Durant was probably better than Earl Boykins in middle school. So it's just about the whole, the camaraderie and how his mind works. Chris Webber, I mean, he got trained by
Earl
people,
Boykin
better than him.
slander on a Saturday night. That's new.
I mean, no disrespect. He's probably better than me, but I mean, come on, Kevin Durant's gonna be
Yeah,
like
maybe.
top 15 player.
Maybe just a little bit. I don't know. Are we all
Yeah,
going
so
under?
I didn't mean to come for Earl Boykins like that or Watson, whichever one it was. But
Are we all going
I
under?
think
I feel like we're all going under, right? Like I'm easily fading that 22 and a half.
$100.
yeah, I'm going under. I'm under. I'm like at 17, 19.
So all of us are going under. I don't want to spend too much time on the Magic. They are just the absolute lost fish. They're like Nemo, just totally lost in the middle of the ocean. And unlike Nemo, I don't think they're going anywhere. As the next team, this team's a little bit more inspiring, I suppose. The Detroit Pistons, they're over under also at 22 and a half via Caesars. So they're tied with the Magic for the lowest win total in the league. Of course, getting Cade Cunningham, the first overall pick. I think their top two players are significantly better than anyone in the Magic. I mean, I guess Cade isn't too much better than Jalen Suggs, but I think Jeremy Grant is far and away better than anyone on the Magic. I mean, Jonathan Isaac's a very talented player when he's able to play for Orlando, but we talked about this before we got on. We don't really know when he's coming back. He's going to miss the opener. His timetable is still up in the air. And I'm sorry, I don't hear anything about Markelle Fultz. So as far as the Detroit Pistons are concerned, they had an interesting offseason. They have the Olynyk Clinic now, Kelly Olynyk, and him and Corey Joseph are probably just looking around like, what the hell are we doing here? Because again, it's a lot of young guys. They have some great talent. They have Killian Hayes as well, a guy that I thought was going to be a bit better last year. He was one of the worst players in the league, advanced statistic-wise. So that's why it's funny that they got Cade, who's just way better version of him in the draft. And then elsewhere, they have some great talent, though. Isaiah Stewart was a first-team all-rookie selection. They also had Sadiq Bey. They have some talent on this roster. The issue is it's Detroit. Just everything being considered, I just don't think this is a very good team as far as, just up to down. It's weird because usually when you get this first overall pick, there's just a rub about, them being able to make you at least a little bit better right off the bat, especially if they're kind of transcendent. I don't think Cade is that transcendent guy. I was kind of in the camp that I thought Jalen Green was the best player in this draft. He was my one on the big board, and then Cade was 2 for me, and Suggs was 3. So I don't know if I love this Cade Cunningham fit with this Detroit team. They have some great young talent. I just don't know, A, if it's going to fit, and B, if it's going to develop, because they might have a little bit too much at once. And I don't know if Dwayne Casey is the guy to really hone them all in at the same time. And on top of it all, it's Detroit. If another team is doing this, if it's like an OK City with Sam Presti, if it's, Houston with the lineage they've had there, if it's some of these other franchises, they've at least done that before, and they at least have trusted people up top to do such. I'm not so sure Detroit's the place for that. So what do you guys think about Detroit? We'll start with Wayne this time first. It just feels like they have too much talent to be like a 5-win team, like this total dumpster fire, this Charlotte Bobcat sort of situation, but they don't have enough talent to really compete night in and night out against the better teams in the NBA. It just feels like this is going to be like an LA Fitness for them. They're just going to run up and down the court, try to get their own. I'm just worried about the cohesion of this team.
One thing I'm not going to do is put too much talent in Detroit in the same sentence. I'll be honest. I don't have any energy for Detroit. What'd you say the under is? A 22?
It's 22 and a half, yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably put him about 15. Cade Cunningham,
whoa,
we'll see what we do.
15 wins.
Yeah.
I
got them going to worst record, so I don't have nothing. So
like you said, they have a bunch of decent young talent, but at the end of the day, can that really gel to really become something at least around that maybe 10-11 range? And they're clearly not going to be anywhere near there. So I got nothing either.
I feel like they're right around 22, so that's why I'm kind of
22. I'm putting them 15. If I said Orlando was 17, okay, fine. You talked me into it. 16 wins. There you go.
I think this number is really good. I could see them winning a few games. I like Jeremy Grant as a player. I mean, he's going to have his own a little bit. And they were around this pace last season, and I think they have a little bit more talent this year. I just feel like they're going to win some games they're probably not supposed to. This feels like a team that can rattle off a few wins at the end of the year. I'm actually going to kind of zag on this. I'm going to go over just because I feel like that they can actually get this 23, 24 wins. I don't think they're as bad as Wayne is making them out to be, but I just don't think they're a good team either. I think they're another like lottery pick away, and then they should be able to package some of these young guys. Like, I don't know if I'd want Sadiq Bey in the future with Cade. I mean, you got to pick and choose. I mean, you pick, one or two of these other guys besides Cade to really build around, and then you have to get this top tier lottery guy and then try to fill out your roster elsewhere, try to package some of these guys for a disgruntled star. I mean, Detroit is a market that's kind of weird. There's been some free agent buzz in the past in Detroit, but not in recent memory. I mean, if you look at just, they've been able to poach some talent in recent years. They were able to get Blake Griffin, for example, who was regarded in a much better light a few years ago than he was just this past season. I mean, he improved as the season went along, but regardless, Blake Griffin was the top 10 player in the NBA at one point, or at least close to it. So Detroit's one of those teams that they at least have a positive arrow in their favor. I just don't know how high it's pointing up. I mean, they have at least more talent than Orlando, in my opinion, as far as their future outlook. I'm going to go over like ever so slightly. It's 22.5. So if they get 23, I win. So I'm going to go over just because that Wayne's already far, far under. Deonta, what do you got?
I'd probably go, you said it's at 22.5. I'd probably go over. I can probably see them, like I said, about 23. Maybe they could eke out maybe 25.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean,
that's y'all just see the Detroit Pistons beating 23 people.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad teams in the NBA right now. And even then, I mean, they actually played decently well against some good teams last year. I remember just off the top of my head, they played the Celtics very well a few times. They played the Nets very well a few times. They played the Bucks well, I believe, once. I mean, they had some good games against better teams. I mean, they're going to play hard. I don't think anyone's acting like they're not going to play hard. Some of these other teams, I don't know about that. And at least they have some quality NBA guys on this team. There's some other teams, I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if the Thunder have more than 5 quality NBA guys. I know at least the Pistons do, at least in theory. So that's why I'm taking the slight over. But regardless, going on to the next team, this is a team I really like. The Cleveland Cavaliers at 26.5. I really liked some of the pieces they have. I wasn't as high on Evan Mobley as others. He was 4th on my big board, but regardless, I think he has some serious potential at center, and I think he went to a good place where he can kind of learn and be something. They have Jared Allen also as well in the front court. They have this Kevin Love situation that has to probably be resumed sooner rather than later. I'm kind of sick of talking about it, honestly. They have this guard combo called Sexland. I like half of it. I like the land part of it. Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. They have Isaac Okoro, who showed some flashes last year. There's some pieces on this team. I really wish this team still had Kevin Porter Jr. This would probably be the most fun team in the league as far as like a guilty pleasure standpoint if they had KPJ. Regardless, they have some good talent on there. There's a guy who I like who really has struggled to stay on the court, and Dylan Windler. He's at Belmont. He's a shooter. I really hope they can get him going a little bit. They just have some good guys on this team, and I think they have something here. We're going to start with Deonta. I mean, I really like Darius Garland. Yes. I don't like Colin Sexton. I have to imagine that they might do something about this front court sooner rather than later. They might get Sexton out of there. I truly think that people are sick of him. There was reports last year that opponents on the other team were talking to Cavs players saying, you're not getting the ball to people in Cleveland because Sexton was that much of a quote-unquote ball hog. His assist numbers are like literally hilariously bad. Darius Garland's a guy, I think, who's better with the ball in his hands. I think he's going to be the point guard of this team. I think they really want to build around this trifecta of Garland, Okoro, and Mobley. The thing with Cleveland is JD Bickerstaff's the head coach. He's good at getting, the best out of young guys. I just don't think he's truly a head coach caliber guy. And this feels like a team that is going to play hard, but they're just going to lose a lot of games. 26.5 is an interesting number. Just talk to me a little bit about this Cleveland team.
I mean, as everybody knows, they just gave Jared Allen that big, 5-year, $100 million contract.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I was trying to be positive. I don't know about that contract extension. But regardless, it's Cleveland, and I don't think anyone wants to go there either. So to Wade's point, I guess you got to throw some money down the drain once in a while.
Yeah, that's how it is. I'm high on Darius Garland, like you. I think he's clearly the guy that you would rather bet around than Colin Sexton. If you move on from Sexton, where would you set up and how much would you get back in return? They got marketing. I guess he can kind of not resurrect his career, but kind of potentially show what he could have been in Cleveland. I mean, at Cleveland and Chicago, if he would have stayed healthy. If he can stay healthy, then I feel like that's kind of a steal.
Hey, don't forget about Ricky Rubio, man. They got him too.
Ricky Rubio has been in the league forever, and he's only 30. Jesus Christ, I feel old. I mean,
Rubio is in the same draft as Steph. I think that's genuinely hilarious.
I mean, don't get me started on that draft. I mean, like I said, Isaac Okoro, he showed flashes. If he can get his offensive game up, then I feel like they, got a pretty nice piece there. But I would have to take the under on the wins just because I feel like I'd probably go 24.
Okay.
Around the Detroit range. I'd probably go somewhere around there.
So you don't think they'll improve really from last year? You think their wins will be around the same?
I feel like they will improve next year.
Okay. You think they're a year away? Wayne, I'm going to ask you the same thing. Just talk to me about the Cavs. And can I get an over-under 50 minutes for Taco Fall on the year? 50 minutes. On the entire year, Taco Fall minutes.
You'll get that. I'd bet the under. Bet the under because they're going to need to compete. But I got two things with this Cavs team. And I like the number, the 26 number. I kind of lean more towards the over. But it's two things. One, they value size and defense. Two, I think they trying to move off Colin Sexton. It's like the worst kept secret. That's why if I'm Colin Sexton, if I'm Cleveland, I would pick up the call to get Ben Simmons.
I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming as soon as you said that.
Because what you do, you're not going to pay Colin Sexton, and you're going to get something back for him. So you do a sign and trade contract, and you do that because then you keep your big tree lineup. You get your defense, and you get Colin out there. And Colin, he don't like to pass. We know Ben gonna pass because the deal with the shooting. Now, Colin, well, you just got to get rid of Ben if you feel it. So you just got to take what you can get because we see you see the offers you get. So you put it. I think of change of pace. I think it might work out for him. I think it might work out for Colin. I think it works for both sides. So you get Ben out there, and you get Colin. You get your point guard. I think it works. And
if they have Garland, I would like that a lot more. The reason I'm saying that is because I think Garland needs the ball in his hands more. I think he's gonna have it. If Ben was on the team, Garland would just have to be the two theoretically, and I don't know if that'd work. I would like Ben. Like if you played Ben with someone like Rubio. You wouldn't want to do that. Let's just say Windler, for whatever reason, starts for them eventually just because he's a shooter and just because I'm going to try to make this make sense in my head. So if you put Ben out there, you have a guy like Windler at the 2, you have a Coro, you have, maybe Kevin Love if he gets resurrected from the dead, and you have Mobley. That lineup is incredibly spaced out, and then you have Simmons who can just kind of run around and pass all those guys. I think that makes a lot of sense. The issue is you have Garland in there, and I don't like him off the ball. I mean, he's fine off the ball. He played well last year. I just think he's so much better when he has it. And I think you really have to maximize his potential with the ball, kind of build around that. I like the idea. I just think Ben needs to go to a team like Orlando, which is like off the face of the earth, and just really let him run around and do whatever the hell he wants, because I think that's the only way he's going to improve. I mean, it really is. I think the Cavs, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think the Cavs actually have some serious direction for the future. Like they have serious direction. They have serious talent. You can clearly see that they should be able to progress and be a decent team. I just don't know if I love Ben Simmons. That might screw that up. I mean, looking at, the time, it took about less than 20 minutes to get to Ben Simmons mock trades. So the over has hit on that. So Wayne's going over, Deonta is going under. I'm going to go over too. I like this Cleveland team. I think they have something there. I don't know, how much I like this Cleveland team, but I think there's enough for me to go over, even if it's ever so slightly, even if they just hit 27. I think Cleveland's going to be a little bit better than they were last year. And speaking of Deonta, his team is next up, the Washington Wizards. Their over-under is 34.5. They had an interesting offseason. They lost Russell Westbrook, but in exchange, they got a farm.
34 wins?
34.5 is the win total. Yeah, in exchange, they got Kyle Kuzma, KCP, they got Spencer Dinwiddie as well, separate sign. Montrezl Harrell as well, they got in that package for Russell Westbrook. And this team is totally different from where it was last year. There's going to be some guys who you project to play a little bit more pending health. Rui Hachimura, a guy who I notably love, should be playing a little bit more. Thomas Bryant is going to come back around halfway through the season. Denny Avia is someone else who I just think should be playing a little bit more and, just makes more sense in a lineup without Russ. This team is so weird. They have a lot of guys. I just don't know what in the world they're going to do with them. Let's start with Wayne first, because Deonta, you're kind of the expert on this team. Wayne, the Wizards of Washington, what in the hell is going on with their roster construction? And are they going to be able to surpass this 34.5 win total?
Wait a minute. So you mean to tell me some smart guys sat around a desk and had lunch and said the Wizards is getting ready to win 34 games? And I'm sitting there trying to think about their roster. I like Bradley Beal. He fine. I like Roy. He cool.
Roy.
But then you got Kuzma.
Roy.
And then I'm just trying to figure out what the rest of the team. I'm 34 wins. I mean,
Wayne's laugh and him calling Reed Roy
I got the
fantastic
under.
there.
I got the under. I got the under. I think the Cavs are about to have a better record than the Wizards. And I like Bradley. Oh. And I do. I'm not trying to. I got no beef with the Wizards. And Deonta, I apologize, but I didn't expect X to say.
Oh my, Deonta, take it away. What in?
All right.
I think Wayne's off one right now. What do you got on your Wiz?
No.
Okay. So let me get this out the way. Woo! Getting Russell Westbrook out of this damn city was the greatest thing this organization could have ever did. Okay. Now let me get serious for a second. Okay. This team, the defense is going to suck. It sucked last year, and it's going to suck again.
You don't think Kyle Kuzma is going to improve your defense? Really? KCP, the defensive stopper of the Lakers, is going to improve your defense? Wow.
I mean,
Spencer Dinwiddie?
Look, they were last, I think either last or second to last in a lot of defensive categories in the preseason. So, like, it's not going to get any better. This defense is going to struggle. Now,
I mean, the starting backcourt is Spencer Dinwiddie and Bradley Beal. Yeah, I don't think the defense is going to be at a premium between those two. Yeah,
no. I mean, like I said, defensively, this team's going to struggle.
What about Bertans? Do you think he's going to stop anyone? Or
that dude can't hit water if he fell out of the damn boat, man. But it's like I said, I can look, Wayne. I'm with you. The defense is going to be bad. It's just you just got to pray that the offense keep up and do something. Because if the offense can at least balance out, I would take the over on the wins. I'm probably biased towards that.
And you said the over.
I said. Look, Did I not say I'm biased? Did I not
You
say I'm
did.
biased? I said it before I said it. I just the defense. The damn defense. That's all I gotta say. That damn defense.
So hold on. Why are you picking? Why? Explain to me why they're getting over again.
Let me go first, Deonta. I'm with you. I think this is the over, and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain why. I actually like this team more than I think both of you do, which is weird because I hated them last year.
I hated them too. I hated
This
them
team
too.
I
has
see what y'all trying to do. Y'all ain't slick, and Russ, I trust. Y'all, like Reaper say, y'all gonna miss me when I'm gone. Y'all gonna miss Russell Westbrook.
All right. Let me go real quick. So Russell Westbrook had a win over replacement in the 150s. He was not a winning player for this Wizards team last year. I think the Wizards' greatest strength, they just have a lot of NBA dudes. We talked about the Magic, how they have like 5 of them that I really trust night in and night out. Same with Oklahoma City. The Wizards have like 9 of them. I don't think people understand how valuable that is. Denny Avdija is a guy who I really like, who barely played last year, who I think is going to get some great runs. Corey Kispert, I love that guy as far as like an NBA role player guy. He is what people think Bertans is. He's going to be really good for this Wizards team. They can't defend anything. I'm not going to pretend like they can. They're going to be in the bottom 6 in defensive metrics probably throughout the year.
3.
But this offense is going to be really talented. They have a lot of guys who can shoot the basketball. They have a lot of guys who can just score points. And I think they're going to win a lot of shootout games because if we think about the way NBA is constructed, I'm a big defense guy, and I think defense is grossly underrated. But I think a lot in today's NBA, you kind of just got to outscore some teams some nights. You got to just score a lot of points. You got to just put up 130 points. And I think the Wizards can do that.
You mean to tell me you think the Wizards get ready to score 130 with a straight face? The Wizards get ready to score 130.
I mean, look at the talent they have as far as scorers, though. I mean, Kuzma can get double digits any given night. Dinwiddie and Beal alone can score 50 by themselves. I mean, they have guys who can score the basketball.
Look, as bad as his roster was last year, they finished 3rd in the league in scoring. That's something.
But you know what? You had Westbrook also.
Westbrook.
But you also, instead of Westbrook, you also have more just guys in total. And you have Dinwiddie and you have Kispert. So I just feel like in total, you're going to outproduce Westbrook scoring just because you got more guys in total. You just have more NBA players.
So you mean to tell me
Westbrook just shot the lights out of my room? Look at this.
You mean to tell me with a straight face, y'all rather have Kyle Kuzma and Corey Kispert other than Westbrook?
Yeah, because Westbrook isn't.
No, you got to. You have to put Dinwiddie in there too. You have to.
Yeah,
he's replacing him. Yes,
I think I would because they're not going to actively hurt the team. Westbrook actively does things that hurt the. Westbrook's one of the worst defenders in the league. I mean, can we not act like he isn't? I mean, Dinwiddie's not good on defense either, but he's not in the bottom 10 in
and he's
almost every metric.
And he's way more efficient on offense. Look, like I said, everybody knows how I feel about Russ.
Can we get some Daniel Gafford love too? I mean, that guy played really well at the end of last year. Him and Thomas Bryant.
Y'all need to stop.
Y'all need to stop in the front court. Look, I like this team.
Who else on the damn list?
So just to clarify, over. Is that where we're going for?
Under.
Yeah, under, over. So that was our first real fun one so far, where there was some discussion. Here's going to be a fun one. I think there might be some discussion with this one. The Raptors of Toronto, the 6th, they finally get to play in the 6th this year. It's the Toronto Raptors, Drake's team. What a weird team this is. Their win total projected on Caesars is 36.5. So just a few better than the Wizards. This is a team that I don't know what to make out of. I can see quite a fluctuation with this team. So just running down the roster real quick. They lose Kyle Lowry. They gain just absolute better cohesion as far as Kyle Lowry was kind of hurting the team as far as they had to play him last year and they kind of knew he was leaving. And I just don't know how that works for a team, especially with a lot of young guys. I don't know how like that really works, especially as the year goes along. And I understand that at the end, they really didn't care. They kind of mailed it home. But I think Nick Nurse is a really competitive guy, and this team might have a different edge now that they don't have this Kyle Lowry thing looming over them. If you just look at the roster up and down, they got Scotty Barnes in the draft. Of course, Fred VanVleet's still there. Pascal Siakam is still there. Chris Boucher is a guy who I really like. OJ Anunoby is someone that obviously you can always see potentially getting better. There's some guys on this roster, and, it's going to be a thing that is Nick Nurse this messiah, the Sean McVay figure that people think they are. I think they made one of the better trades of all last year. They exchanged Gary Trent for Norman Powell. They're like the same guy, but Trent's just a tad more efficient in some areas, and he's way younger. So I thought that was one of the smarter things they did all of last year. That was a great move by Masai Ujiri. The issue with this team is going to be their front court depth. I mean, Boucher is a talented player, but he's a string bean, and he really gets exposed sometimes down low. It was really what hurt them last year. Their defense, something they really pride themselves on, wasn't the best as well. Pascal Siakam kind of gets exposed on that end. It's weird because Fred VanVleet's a relatively small guy, and he was one of their better defenders last year, along with Lowry at points. So this is going to be a team that their traditional defensive metrics are going to really be relying upon guys like OG Anunoby and the young Scotty Barnes. So what do we think about the Raptors? Deonta, we'll start with you. This is a good roster, maybe not my favorite roster in the league. And it just seems like the variance with them is so grand. I just don't really know what's going to happen. They got Goran Dragic as well. They have Precious Achiuwa. They have like a lot of good guys, but it's like, I just don't know in an East that I think is ultra talented how they're going to fare.
So I'll start off by saying this. I think you said the win total is at 36.5, right?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of high.
I thought so too.
Because, I feel like the reason they have their win total so high is because they've been pretty, outside of last year, they were pretty good for a while. So I guess they're kind of going off of their quote unquote.
It's a respect ranking, no doubt.
Yeah. So like I don't see how people aren't slamming the under. I mean, Pascal Siakam is a shell of himself from what people expected him to, become. He's really disappointed. Scotty Barnes, he's definitely one of the best players in this draft, and they can really build around him going forward. But like you said, their front court depth is awful because,
can I name it to you? Are you ready?
Yeah.
So it's Precious Achiuwa, who, I mean, kind of a mixed bag last year. He was really good in some advanced statistics and just really terrible in others. He was one of those guys that was just totally up and down. Khem Birch, 29-year-old Khem Birch is going to be a guy that plays a lot of minutes for them. And, Pascal Siakam, Chris Boucher. You want to know who else they have on this roster? At least they had him in the preseason. Sam Decker, Kevin Harlan's
legend.
Son-in-law rather. So just, not the best front court going. And I just feel like it's a lot of potential base. They don't really have that defensive stopper down low. It feels like they're just going to allow a ton of points in the paint. And I think in today's NBA, that's such a problem because if you think about it, if you can penetrate into the lane, you can kick out and really open up this three-point shooting barrage that has been the NBA the last few years, particularly the last 2 years when scoring is kind of inflated again. It just feels like this team is not built for the current NBA. I mean, they have good wings. They have good scoring. It just feels like defensively, they have some gaping holes that will lose them games, particularly against good shooting teams. Wayne, I kind of like this number just, as it is at 36, but I can really see this going both ways. What do you think?
I don't have a solid opinion on the Raptors, but I like the number and I would pick the under. Look, the thing with the Raptors, with that roster and the coaching, they're gonna play responsibility football. They're gonna play good basketball. It's gonna be good, solid, fundamental basketball. So that'll get them to they stat line, they over. That 36, that'll get them 35, 36. The thing that's going to hamstring them is they really don't have a guy like when the game's on the line. They don't have a guy that just can take you to the promised land. Somebody you can just, here, I got the ball, get the hell out the way. I got this. They don't have somebody that's just going to save them. That's what's going to hurt them. So their best thing is going to be their unit. And I like Precious a lot. I like that move a lot. I like the OG. He cool. I mean, it's just a bunch of guys that are just going, with Nick Nurse, with that coaching, they just go, hey, guys, we're just going to go out here and play basketball. And that'll beat a lot of people because a lot of people do a lot of ISO, a lot of AAU stuff, a lot of pick and pop. But with Nick Nurse, they're going to be legit running plays. And I think that'll get some people. And they had a weird little zone technique that gave people a lot of hell last year. They play a lot of zone defense, like a lot of trick type zone. So it's different. So I think they're going to be a lot better on defense than what you think. Because it's not a traditional, but it's almost like an amoeba. It looks like a 2-3 zone, but then when it looks like a 2-3, but then it turns into like a 3-2 when you try to adjust. It's weird.
I think the difference is they used to have the personnel for it. I mean, they used to have Marc Gasol, who's one of the better defensive centers in the game. They had Serge Ibaka, obviously, as well, one of the better defenders. Last year, their defense tapered off a little bit as the season went along. They had Aaron Baines, who was also like kind of a solid defender, but has his ups and downs. They lost him too. And I just don't think that their defensive talent right now is going to be great. I'm going to go under, but ever so slightly. I mean, I could really see them just hitting 35 or 36, and that would give me the win. So 36.5 is the total. Deonta, Wayne, quick, what do you guys have?
My mind, I got 34, 35. So you said that's the under?
Yeah, that's the under.
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess I got under then. Yeah. Okay.
I'd go under. I'd probably go about anywhere from 32 to 34.
But I don't think I don't think they're a bad team though.
I don't think they're a bad team either. I just think
but that is a little high. So yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
I just think there's better out there. And speaking about better out there, a team me and Wayne like a lot, the Charlotte Hornets. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to talk them down a little bit doing this because the health thing with this team is such a concern for me. I mean, up and down, LaMelo had some health concerns last year. Kelly Oubre comes into the fold. He had a lot of health concerns last year. Gordon Hayward has health concerns every week. Terry Rozier had some serious health concerns as far as just injuries. That's what I'm talking about with health concerns. This is a team that has really good talent. They just can't stay healthy ever, like literally ever. There's an interesting stat with this team as well that I found last week. So the Hornets had a record of 10-11 without LaMelo Ball last year. So that's around a 500 team, right? They had a 9-19 record without Gordon Hayward. That is an abysmal record without Hayward. When they did have Hayward, they were 24-20. This was a different team when Gordon Hayward was in the lineup than when he was without. This was a bona fide playoff team when he was there, and when he wasn't, this was a team that was just not very good. I think this team's record really depends on the health of Gordon Hayward. And from what I've seen the last 4 or 5 years, I'm not going to think that is really the best bet to make. Obviously, you're going to expect a second-year jump from LaMelo. I think just the fact that Devontae Graham isn't there means the world to this team. He is a grossly overrated basketball player, in my opinion. His efficiency numbers are garbage. We'll get to him in the Pelicans, excuse me. This is the Hornets. The Pelicans won later when we do the Western Conference, but regardless, this is a team I want to like a lot more than I do. Just the health question marks concern me so much. Wayne, I know you like LaMelo. I know you like this team, but how can you just get past this health thing?
Well, number one, I got no doubts about Big Baller Brain. You know, Big Baller Brain gonna stay healthy. Everybody thought he's gonna be gone all year, but that's what they do around. That's what we do around here. They stay us down, they count us out, but we come on back. So Big Baller Brain, he gonna be fine. He might miss a game here and there, but he ain't made out of glass. We cannot say the same thing about Gordon Hayward. But as fragile as he is, as hurt as he is, he offensively, he's their best guy. There's nobody with a better offensive game than Gordon Hayward. Now, I know Big Baller Brand, but Big Baller Brand is more flashy than it is because we luxurious. But Gordon, he's more of the scorer. So when you lose your best scorer, by default, hell yeah, you're going to lose some games because you need to find some buckets somewhere. Because PJ Washington ain't the answer. Then LaMelo had to figure out how to get this thing going. You understand what I'm saying? Because the score is really the one they need to sign, but that's another topic for another day. That's the score. But anyway, they need to find some offense in other ways. But they put so much money into Gordon trying to get him from Boston. That's where they wheelhouse is. So I think they will be fine without Gordon, but you can't really depend on him because you don't know if he's gonna play, 5 games or 5 minutes. And that's a problem. And so far as that, Gordon's not their best player, but he's the most important because he's a big part of the offense. And LaMelo, yeah, he makes everybody else better, but everybody else has a ceiling. Gordon is slightly above everybody else's ceiling. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know how much better Big Baller Brain can make everybody else.
I said last year, Wayne, I remember we had a discussion about this, and I still think I'm right about it. That Hayward was the most important player to this team. And I didn't mean that necessarily he was the best player. I mean, he is, at least for now. But he was the most important because he really gave them an element they didn't have, and that's just an ultra consistent scorer and a guy who's going to go out there and give his best effort and kind of make himself better and really help everyone else create their own shot, because he's going to draw attention when he's scoring these 20 points consistently over and over again. So that's going to open exposure for Terry Rozier, for LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, excuse me. So I just really like the way that this team is constructed, particularly now that they have this guy in Hayward who can go out there and score 20 pretty much every night. The issue is I hate his health. Even if LaMelo is near all-star caliber, which I think he can be this year, I'm just not sure that this team is good enough, even with the pieces they do have. Deonta, I think you're probably leaning the same way I am.
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to say free PJ. He deserves better. Second, yes, I definitely agree.
The best PJ in the league.
Yes. I would definitely agree with the whole injury thing. I remember when you and I did a couple podcasts last year, you mentioned that Gordon Hayward was a sleeper all-star pick, and he was not by far, he was definitely the most important player on the Charlotte Hornets. Yes, because, he's there, he's a veteran, and he's there, as far as when he plays, he's their kind of, I won't say he's their leader, but, he definitely gets the offense going, or he allows LaMelo to do a bunch of other stuff with everybody else not named him. It's just a matter of him staying on the floor, and you can't really rely on that. It's, ever since his, we all know about his injury in Boston, ever since then, it's just been like, this guy just can't stay out there. And if I know Melo had his whole wrist thing, and, I guess he came back way sooner than people expected, but he really,
he wasn't as good at the end of the season. He just wasn't. Yeah. And he wasn't as good when Hayward wasn't there. And you can blame that on some of the talent on Charlotte, but I think he just probably wasn't ultra comfortable at the end of the year. Maybe he came back too soon from the wrist thing. Maybe he just had a rookie slump like a lot of rookies do. And I really like him and I see his potential, but I mean, I can't just unsee that. He wasn't super consistent throughout the year. And I'm expecting a better performance in year 2, but still, I just don't think. I think he's at least a year or 2 away from being able to, make everyone else around him better all the time, every game, and also get his. I think he's a little away from that right now, and I would expect him to. He's a young guy, and he'll get better and improve and whatnot. So I'm going to go under.
What's the win number at?
So the win number for the Hornets is at 38.5. So that'd be actually a little worse than last year's pace, I believe. And I think that's accurate. I think some teams in the East got better. And I just think with Hayward's injury risk at all times, he might even play less games than he did last year, especially in an 82-game season when there's just more games in total. So I'm going to go the under.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go under. Not because they don't have the, the talent. I can't trust their health. That's literally the only reason I have to go under.
I'm going to go with the over.
No surprise there. no surprise. Wayne and his big baller brand will never depart. And Wayne, you're going to be the topic for this next one as well. The New York Knicks.
Wait
the
a
next
minute.
team.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So we named in no order. We named the Magic. We named the Cavs. We named the Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
We named the Wizards.
Mm-hmm.
We named Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
We just got done with the Hornets.
Yes.
That's 6.
Yes.
Did I forget anybody?
No.
Nope.
So you mean to tell me the disrespect?
I didn't make this list, Wayne. This is Caesar Sportsbook. Don't come at me. I'm just reading the win total in order, man.
They're not wrong.
Hey, I don't want to hear it, Casper Crispy or whatever it is.
Hold on. Can I just say this? I'm biased. What's the Knicks win total projection at?
Thank you. The win total is 41.5. So that would be basically the win total for the Knicks is, are they going to be around a 500 team or are they going to be a little under a 500 team? That's what Caesars is projecting. Wayne, you're going to fume if I don't let you go first. So have the floor.
Over.
You get 2 minutes of constant Knick talk starting now. Go.
Over. We upgraded. We went from Elfrid Payton to Kemba Walker. We went from Reggie Bullock to Evan Fournier. RJ, he ain't what we thought he was gonna be, but he is getting better. He just ain't on our timeline, but he is getting better, and we don't. And I mean, it's preseason for whatever it's worth, but he has gotten better. We gonna see. Julius Randle, most improved. I like what I seen with the preseason, went undefeated, and for whatever that's worth. But I look less at the wins and more about how you look. All right, and we got Mitchell Robinson. He's gonna be back. We went a lot of that season with a backup center who I don't know went number 2 in the league in blocks. Everything that was good about our team, we brought it back. Now we also have Derrick Rose, who was later in the season. We have him all year. We got Obi Toppin, who's going to be more comfortable. We got Emmanuel Quickly, who's going to be more comfortable. We got Kemba Walker, who I just mentioned. And why is that so big? Because the Knicks struggled with offense. With Evan Fournier and Kemba, what do we got? Offense. And now we ain't going to put so much pressure on our second unit, who was great. And then we got Alec Burke, who also missed time. I like to think he could be a little
time.
And we got, I don't want to hear Casper Crispy. And then look, Quentin Grimes and the other rookie, I like them. They're going to be cool. We're going to see what it is. So we added what we had, and then we put some more things with it. And we still going to have the defense. Now we're going to drop off a little bit.
Deonta, we're going to go to you here. Wayne's 2 minutes from 9:09 to 9:11 are up. Deonta, the New York Knickerbockers, right around that 41.5 win total on Caesars. Other books have them at like 42.5, 43.5. So they're really hovering around 500 in all these sports books. So talk to me about the Knicks, what you like about them, what you don't like about them. They had a really magical season last year. It's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of keep it up. I have my own opinions, but I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, I got them around the play-in season 7th through 10, right? I'd probably have them towards the latter half, like, the 9-10 range. I do honestly 10. I guess
they're 10.
I mean, they didn't really get better on defense. I mean, yes, okay, they bring back Mitchell Robinson, who was second in the league in blocks, like you said, cool, but their offense is bad. Their offense is bad. I mean, we all saw it in the playoffs. I mean, Julius Randle, I mean, he got exposed. Like, it's not good. And like, this is a typical, Tibbs team. The offense will just be simply non-existent.
They did that because nobody else could create their own shot. You can't just key in and just send the house at Julius Randle, not when you got Kemba and Fournier back there. And I'm not saying they're going to.
You can rely on Kemba Walker for 30 games.
I have a strong opinion on this team, so I'm going to give myself a minute untouched. Wayne, you can yell at me after the minute. I'm going to start the timer now. Ready? And here's my minute on the Knicks. Their offense is garbage. Okay. Their offense is not good at all. Evan Fournier is overpaid. It was an overpaid because the Knicks can't draw free agents, and they haven't since I was born. I'm now a sophomore in college. Let that sink in, folks. This team had a magical season last year. No one really expected much from them, and they played above expectations. Julius Randle was a top 30 guy in the NBA, really a top 20 guy in the NBA for a majority of the season. And he's not going to be that again. I just don't see it. It's not feasible. He really got exposed towards the end of the playoffs when he had to produce night in and night out in the playoffs in high-level situations. He cannot do such. You talked about RJ Barrett. I like him. He's getting a little bit better, but I'm just not sure he's really that guy to also help Julius Randle. If we're propping up Kemba Walker in 2021, you have to be a Knicks fan because no one else is. He's not good. He was actively bad. For the Knicks last year, their defense is good. It would be worse than it was last year. The Tibbs thing rears its head. It always does, and that's a minute, folks. This team just isn't going to have that lightning in a bottle that it had last year, and that is why I'm going under. I think this team is right around 500. I could see them hitting 500. I could see them being a game or two over 500. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I just think they're going to lose some games they won last year, and I just don't think this team is as good as many think they are.
No, not at all. I'm sorry. I love New York. I love
the fans are the best in sports, in my opinion, in North American sports. But I just don't think that they're being realistic. They got a taste of what it's like to be a good team last year, and I think they're going to hold on to that until the end. And I respect it, but I just don't think this team is really.
I knew the Knicks were done when they won. What was that, game 2? Or when they won game 2? When they were outside of MSG screaming, "We want Brooklyn." I knew this team was destined for absolute failure. It's not going to go the way you think it's going to go, Wayne. I'm sorry. It's just not.
It's the warning. I mean, I talked about it all season long that they would falter in the playoffs, and everyone was mad at me. I said their ceiling was losing in the first round, and they lost quite handily in the first round. There's some people that were like, they're making the Eastern Conference Finals. I never had them as a top 10 team last year. I thought they won a lot of games that they probably shouldn't have won. Their defense was phenomenal. They held opponents to some of the worst three-point shooting in the league. I think a lot of that was Tibbs and kind of, enlisting his guys. And I just don't think that can really happen 2 years in a row. I think teams have a year of tape on it now. They can kind of scheme around it. Three-point shooting is so prevalent in this league that just going up a little bit in that three-point percentage, opposing teams will make the world of difference and win them games that they weren't able to win last year. So obviously Wayne's going to go over, but me and Deonta taking the under, no doubt about that. Wayne, any final thoughts quickly on your Knicks before we move on?
This team is a 4 seed, 5 seed at worst.
Good Lord. The next team, the Indiana Pacers, a team that I like quite a bit that always disappoint me because they were always hurt last year. Mm-hmm. Their win total is at 43.5. So sort of like the Knicks, they're hovering around 500. Same thing with the Knicks. They're around 42, 41 in some sports books. They're just really around that 500 line. This is a team that really struggled with players missing games last year. So just off the top of my head, Miles Turner is an important piece for them. He missed a lot of games. Karis LeVert missed a lot of games with his heart issue last year. Or his kidney issue, rather. Malcolm Brogdon missed a lot of games for them as well. This was a team that just up and down. Domantas Sabonis as well missed a lot of time for the Pacers. This was a team that just up and down, couldn't stay healthy. Their big loss is they don't have Doug McDermott anymore. They did gain a guy I'm very familiar with in Chris Duarte in the draft. He's already inducted into Springfield for some Pacers fans' minds. I don't think he's that great, but I think he can definitely help on the bench. He was one of the oldest players in the draft, and I think he's a guy that can really just put together their bench unit for them. This is a team that I think, when healthy, can really be a 5-6 seed. The issue is health just so dramatic for them as far as their variance. And they lost like McDermott, who was oddly important for them last year. I'm going to start with Deonta again. The Pacers are a team that I'm always propping up. I just don't know if they're able to stay healthy. It feels like we're on year 1,000 of this Miles Turner saga. I just don't know what they're going to do if, Levert misses some time again. It feels like Brogdon's always chalked up to miss at least 15 games. Their wings kind of concern me a little bit. I mean, TJ Warren didn't really play at all last year. He's going to be back for them. I mean, he showed that he was MJ in the bubble, but wasn't able to really build upon that last year. If he's just consistent for them, he makes a world of difference for them, add some scoring. It's just a team that, again, a lot of variance with them, kind of like the Raptors. You could see them being up towards the 4 or 5. You could see them, fighting just to be in the play-in game at all, in that 11th spot, 12 spot. What do you think of this Pacers team?
So as far as the Pacers, I love Brogdon. He's a really efficient offensive player, and he's really, good on defense. Can't stay healthy to save his life. That's his biggest downfall. Not even close. Sabonis, one of the best. He's probably, I wouldn't call him a poor man's Joker, because obviously, he's not as good playmaking, but he can definitely fill the box score up for you. He can give you, about 23 and about 12 a night. I like him.
That's really good numbers too. I mean,
yeah, like he's really good. I believe they got Jeremy Lamb back this year after he tore his ACL, I believe last year or something like that. So I feel like he's going to be,
I don't know if I can prop up Jeremy Lamb.
Hey, I like Jeremy Lamb.
Okay.
I personally have a personal love for Jeremy Lamb back in his UConn days. But I mean, it's I feel like it's the same thing with Charlotte. Can you stay healthy? And people, I mean, you brought up the Kevin Love saga earlier. I mean, what are they going to do about this Miles Turner saga? I mean, clearly,
I just don't think anyone wants him. I think that's kind of the issue. I feel like, and if teams do want him, they're probably paying pennies on the dollar because they know Indiana doesn't want him. And at that point, he probably does more good than bad. The Miles Turner thing that really annoys me, he'd be so much better if he just doesn't do stupid things throughout a game. And now that Rick Carlisle is there, I wonder if he'll just stop doing stupid things throughout a game, because I don't think Rick Carlisle will have any sort of temperament for that. If he does a stupid thing, he'll probably just get benched. So I feel like the Rick Carlisle piece, even though he's been in limbo with the Mavericks for the last few years and is finally out of there and gets kind of this fresh start in Indiana, where he started coaching so many years ago as a lead NBA coach. I just feel like that he can really rejuvenate this team and get them playing at a little bit better of a level than they were playing last year. Wayne, you're shaking your head. I know Indiana and the Knicks do these kind of circles around each other. They're very similar teams in some ways and very different in others. Again, their win totals are around the same. What do you think of this Indiana team?
They're cool. I probably got the under. I mean, they got some nice pieces, but that got the under. Because I think that's a little high. But I'm not saying they're a bad team or nothing. But
are you guys both going under on this?
What did you say it was? You said it was 40.
It's 40. It's 40. Let me double check. It's 43 and a half. Yeah. So that'd be 2 games over 500 is the over.
Yeah, I got the under.
I would go 43 wins. 40. So I would have to go just literally slightly under. They could be better if they stay healthy, but if they, I don't think that they can.
I just think with the bench being a little bit better this year, I think with Rick Carlisle coming in, I think this is one of the easier overs for me. I mean, I understand the health is a concern, but I just think this team is being slept on. They were slept on last year. They're one of the better teams that no one really talked about. They just had injuries left and right. They had COVID left and right. Hopefully this year they're able to kind of iron that out a little bit. And here's another team that I'm really fascinated by, the Chicago Bulls. Man, do they have a busy offseason. They have this new quote-unquote big four of Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, and DeMar DeRozan. Wow, that's an interesting squad right there. They tried to improve their bench a little bit. They got Alex Caruso. Patrick Williams was one of the more promising rookies last season. This team, talk about variance. They could be a 3 seed or they could be a 12 seed, and I don't think anyone would blink.
No.
I mean, just total projection bet with them as far as can they live up to their potential, or are they going to squander a little bit like they did last year. I think a lot of this falls on the health of Zach LaVine, another guy who's had some injury risk the last few years and been up and down with that. I mean, I'm not going to waste too much time in the Bulls just because I feel like they're so projection based and so potential based. I really like Billy Donovan more than the average guy does. And I think he's going to maximize this team. I think Lonzo Ball playing his traditional point is going to make the world of difference. The only issue that I really see with this team is DeMar DeRozan. I would like this team a lot more if they just didn't have him. I just don't know how he's going to fit. He's going to clog the paint a little bit. I think spacing might be a little weird with this team. I'm going to take the over with them, and I like a lot of what they have. I just think this could be a team come playoff time that really gets exposed a little bit. Wayne, try not to fall asleep over here since we're past the Knicks now, and since you got the Knicks rub in, but
no, it's I have like a lot of long days, it's unreal. But anyway,
Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago. Yeah, they got a big baller brand and they got DeRozan. I'm curious to see how it fit because I feel like they may have a lot of the same thing. But I'm gonna say over just because of the talent alone. So I'm gonna say over. I'm curious to see how it fits. I don't know, but I know it will because you got IQ there. Yeah, I'm gonna say over.
What's the win number at again?
you got to remember these, man. I say them.
I mean,
gotta...
no. Here's the thing.
Yeah,
I have them written down, but it's like every number that you say is different.
It's so 43 and a half. We're using Caesars right now.
Yeah.
I'm using DraftKings or
I looked at Caesars. I looked at Caesars. So, oh man, I don't know. DeRozan. I don't know why they signed DeRozan, man. I don't know why.
It was a lot of money. It could be a Zach LaVine replacement thing because Zach's not expiring. Maybe he'll want out of there depending on how this year goes.
So I feel like obviously Lonzo Ball is going to be good on the defensive end. He's going to be a really good playmaker. He's improved his shot. I like him. Obviously, I love Zach. He's one of the best scorers in the league, without question.
Hold on, real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off. Is Zach LaVine better than Devin Booker?
I'd rather have Zach. I'd rather have Zach,
but I don't know if he's better though. I mean, I'd rather have Zach because I think his upside's better. I think Booker does some things that Zach doesn't. I think he's better off the ball. I think
Zach is cold. I think
he's a little bit better as a playmaker. And I think scoring wise, I think I take Zach. That's one of those tough questions. It's really tough.
I wouldn't. Yeah. I was just curious what y'all thought. I didn't mean to interject. That's all I got.
So Wayne and Deonta, you guys are going over. And I'm going over as well.
Yeah.
I got them closer to 50 wins, actually, to be honest with you.
I say about 45. I say about 45.
I'm kind of splitting the difference. I like that 48, 49 range. So closer to Wayne, probably. These next two teams, though, I'm going to lump together. And the next four teams, there's kind of these tier systems, and we're going to lump them together. So this tier right here, it's the Celtics and the Hawks. They both are around the same win totals. A lot of sports books have both at 46.5. The one we're using has the Hawks one game better than the Celtics. The Hawks are at 47.5 and the Celtics are at 46.5. So just based off this, they're in the same tier. Wayne, we're going to start with you. These two teams have a lot of similarities as far as they're really reliant on these young players. They're going to be reliant on, some consistency out of their young players. There's been consistency issues with both teams throughout their seasons. They were really similar last year. They played some good games against each other. Both teams arguably got better in the offseason and arguably improved in certain areas. It's just interesting to see the Celtics kind of faltered to expectations last year, and the Hawks really rose to them and exceeded them. So although both teams are similar, they had such different seasons last year. Deonta and Wayne. I'll start with Wayne again, but I mean, I like the Celtics team. I'm biased. I like the Celtics team, but this Hawks team fascinates me just because how they were able to beat Philly in 7 in their own place with Trey not even playing well in that game. So, Wayne, what do you think of these numbers over under for both teams? And just give me a little bit on the Hawks and Celtics.
I'm going to say under on Atlanta. Look, Atlanta's cool, and I guess they overachieved a little bit. But listen, that new rule about that whole late in that little foul call, that's about to whoop Trey ass. Same thing with James Harden. So a lot of that Trey's money was at the free throw line. So just by default, I think Trey's numbers are going to come down a little bit because you just can't go hunting for contact no more because the refs ain't calling that. And I love that they did that. They should have been anyway. So
I think they're going to play him different. I think that's a great point. I think a lot of what Trey does and what those guys do is when they go into you, you're going to play off a little bit. And what happens on another pick and roll, you're going to sag off a little bit and Trey shoots over it and gets an easier three. So I think that's a fascinating point that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. So I actually totally agree with you on that Trey thing. And I did a 180 on Trey last year. I liked him a lot more as the season goes along. He was more efficient. He was passing the ball way more. He was just more intensive a player. Now, defensively, he's abysmal. He was ranked 250th out of 250 qualified on the defensive end as far as box plus minus and just Raptor and wins above replacement on defense. But I just really liked how he played at the end of the year. And, you know, I just don't necessarily know if he's going to be that guy this year as far as being the offensive load, passing as much as he has, the efficiency side of it. He got way more efficient as the season went along. I just feel like there's some issues with it. But Wayne, Boston, on the other hand, Tatum and Brown had their ups, they had their downs. They lose Kemba. They get a new coach. Brad Stevens is out. They get a better bench. Their bench was really an issue last year. They get some bench pieces. They get Dennis Schroeder. They get Josh Richardson. They get another year out of Pritchard. They get another year out of Time Lord. It just seems like this team's a little bit better, but you're shaking your head. You disagree.
Man, I don't know if Boston's going to make the playoffs.
Whoa.
And look, I love Jason Tatum. You know, that's the number one guy if I was starting to – that's it. I do.
But, man,
what?
I thought it was Ben.
Ben. No, Ben was – I see what you're doing, Corey Crisper. But you know how I feel about the whole Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you lost your coach. And then for better or for worse.
I think that was intentional. I think they intentionally lost their coach. I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. But, you know, he's not coaching no more. So, yeah.
Right.
And then for better or for worse, you're losing Kemba and Fournier. Now, you can love it or hate it. It's fine, but it's what are you replacing it with? And I feel like that's not at best, I feel like you're getting equal to Kemba. Well, I don't think so. I think it's a little worse because I'm higher on Kemba than most. But I'm just, and I see how they struggled last year. And what do you do to get better? I'm not sure. You'll have Marcus Smart because I guess he's off the trading block, but they should have never had him there to begin with. But, and I'm looking at how the East has gotten better. We look at teams like Chicago that's gotten better. Atlanta's gotten better. Brooklyn ain't going nowhere. You know, the Knicks have gotten better. Philly's still around. And Boston, it just seemed like the Eastern Conference has kind of passed Boston by because everybody was saying, oh, well, they're young. And now I'm looking around, they look worse. So I mean, play in, yeah, but I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, man.
Looks disappointed.
For real.
Deonta?
I think that's crazy talk to say that Boston isn't going to make the playoffs. You said, I mean, what, the top 10 teams at least get to play in. So what?
Play in, but I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty much a lock. I think they're better than New York, Indiana, and Chicago. So I mean, it's kind of crazy talk to say they're not. I mean, I'm not that high on them. I think that their win total is pretty high. Well, I wouldn't say high, but they're probably, I'd say about 5 seed, 6 seed. But to say that they're not going to make the playoffs at all, that's crazy talk, man. We might have to get you.
Well, I guess they'll win that play-in tournament, but I don't think they'll win it by I don't think they'll be an 8 seed when the season ends. I mean, think about it. They were what a 7 seed with all the injuries that they had.
and I feel like they're going to at least get the 5 seed, in my opinion.
And the Hawks, Deonta, before I lose my mind on this entire conversation.
Okay, so I just want to know, is Atlanta going to settle for what happened with them last year, with them surprisingly making the conference finals, or are they going to be that same team that
I think they have some alpha in them. I think Trey is like a villain, and I think he knows it, and I think he can really embrace it. So I think just him alone, I don't know if he can propel the entire team, but I think.
I mean, well, at the same time,
hey, what you say?
He said Trey's an alpha. He's a villain.
Right. Yeah, I got that. Now after that,
he's a villain. He's a good villain. He's a fantastic villain. That's what I said.
Yeah, and then after that,
that's all I said. I think, right?
Yeah, that's all I heard. You might be hearing things.
What else did I say? I thought he said.
What did you think?
What did you think I said?
I mean, I heard the villain, the alpha. Then you was talking about. It sounded like I think Trey can rise up because Deonta was saying what this Atlanta team is, and then X was Trey's got that alpha. He's basically that villain, and he seems to be a racist. That's what it sounded like.
Oh no, rise up.
He can rise up to the occasion.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what?
No, I'm a big Trae Young guy nowadays. I mean,
yeah.
And look,
maybe not poster on the wall, Trae Young guy, but I'm getting him.
Yeah. So I'll let you get to what you have to say. If Trae can step up and be that villain and give this team that kind of added boost that they need, then yes, they can be a top 4 seed. But I don't know if they'll be able to pull that off, because I've seen a lot of teams in various sports, once they get a little small taste of success, they kind of just fold. They just fold.
All right, I'm gonna start with my team. I mean, I'm trying not to be biased here, but I think this is.
Let's get a 5-minute timer.
I mean, I'm gonna give myself 2 minutes here. Okay, Kemba Walker is actively atrocious. Okay, he was actively terrible for this team last year. He was a ball hog. He was a defensive liability at every turn. He was inefficient. He shot so many stupid shots last year. It was incredible. He couldn't get to the lane as efficient as he was when he was a bit younger and, better before this whole knee thing. And, he just touched the ball too much because he was the de facto point guard. He couldn't play on the second night of back-to-backs. There was so much flux with him in the lineup. It was annoying. Dennis Schroeder is this guy who's actually really good at basketball. He's not like a top 40 guy, but he's in the top 100 fairly easily, and he's better than Kemba. I mean, he just is. He's a better player than Kemba Walker right now in his career. Don't let what you saw last year with these Laker fans, oh my God, Dennis doing this, Dennis doing that, whatever. He's going to be a better player than he was last year. It's a better fit around Tatum and Brown than it was last year with LeBron, because Tatum and Brown don't need the ball in their hands as much to be effective. LeBron does. It was a weird fit all the way around. So he's going to play better, and he's just better for this team than Kemba Walker was. Ime Udoka is a better coach for this team than Brad Stevens is. He's not a better coach, but he's a better coach for this team. Why? Because he's a former player, and he's probably going to get to these guys. These guys love him. I think Brad is a little bit too analytical. I'm sure they like Brad just as much, and I'm sure Brad did a lot of good things for this team. But I feel like his voice was probably getting a little tired in that locker room, and they needed something fresh. They needed this edge to them. This team was softer than shit last year, and they really needed something to elevate their attitude level, and I think Udoka can do that. I think they lost a lot of games because how soft they were. That's not a stat. That's not an advanced analytic. That's not something that if you don't watch them every game, you'll really understand. But I really think that just this toughness to them will really elevate them exponentially. And if they're able to get off Marcus Smart, that'd be really great for this team as well, because he's fool's gold and he's not a very good basketball player anymore, particularly because he's a ball stopper and he takes a lot of dumb shots, and on defense, he's grossly overrated. This team is really one piece away. If they're able to get a disgruntled superstar, cool. If not, I don't know. There's that guy in Washington. His name is Bradley Beal. It'd be an interesting fit, but That's probably a guy that they'd probably look for.
If
That
you ain't giving
trifecta
if
of
you ain't giving me
Beal,
Tatum, then get out of
Brown,
here.
and Tatum. That'd be an
Free
interesting.
Bill.
That's my 2 minutes. I think this is an easy over. I think this team is just going to be better from a mentality standpoint. I don't think it's necessarily roster, even though roster is a part of it. I just think that the coaching change and hopefully this alpha part of Doku can really help the Celtics this year. And as for the Hawks, I don't really like the lightning in the bottle teams 2 years in a row. It's just kind of this thing in all sports that I go with. It just seems like when teams overexceed 1 year, they underexceed the next. It's really hard for me to sit here and say they don't live up to expectations and be better significantly than they were last year. I like a lot of these Hawks players. I like Bogdanovich probably more than anyone on the entire planet, including his parents do on the basketball court. I really like Trae Young. I like Cam Reddish. I think he's someone that really has untapped potential. I released my top 40. It will be up on the Sports Wave very shortly. Clint Capella made it, which I never thought I'd see in my entire life. But Clint Capella, in my opinion, is a top 40 guy in the league right now. His defensive metrics are insane. And he was so great around the basket. He was so awfully efficient. And you can really pair that to Trae Young. But regardless, he just was a guy who could bang down low and be useful for this team. His offensive rebounding metrics were also phenomenal. He's just a good basketball player, and he's a top 40 guy and one of the better centers the NBA has right now. The issue with this team is that I think a lot of their rub was off. A, Trae Young's alphaness and ability to get to the free throw line and be super efficient towards the end of last year, and Wayne kind of already talked about it. I don't think that's going to happen as much this year with the rule change. I think he's going to go back to taking some stupid shots, and that will hurt the team a little bit. And then also, they got a big rub from that, mid-season coaching change. Lloyd Pierce coming out, Nate McMillan coming in. They're not going to have that kind of, energy, that spark that they had last year from that move alone. So I think all things considered, this is a good team. I like a lot of the components of this team. I just think there's areas where they're not going to be as good as they were last season. So I'm going under for them. So I'm going under for the Hawks, over for the Celtics. Deonta, I believe you're going under for both, correct?
No, I'm going over for Boston and under for Atlanta. I just want to ask a really quick question.
Okay.
Would you say the reason that obviously is at the end of the day is simply just a bracket, but would you say the reason the Atlanta Hawks made the Eastern Conference Finals is because they played an offensively atrocious team in New York and they played Philly at their worst point in the last two to 3 years?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if they were on the other side, they would have ran into Milwaukee or Brooklyn. They would have got toasted by either of those teams. And like you said, it's a bracket, so I don't really think you can put too much weight into it. But let's not pretend they took Milwaukee to 6 games, and obviously Giannis was hurt, but Atlanta had injuries all year long too. They had a lot of injuries. Trae was hurt at the end of the year. They were going up and down they were playing long series. They came off a 7-game series, a grueling 7-game series when they weren't supposed to be there at all. And a lot of those guys are younger and have never experienced any playoff success. So think about that. You win the first series against the Knicks fairly smoothly, and then you are coming off a 7-game series where you're the underdog the entire time. You're exerting all this energy. Remember how many games they have to come back from in that series too. Think about that end of it. Mm-hmm. And it's 7 games and you play Philly. So they were probably just burned out at the end of the whole thing. And there may be some carryover that at the beginning of the year. And I just don't love this team a lot. And Wayne, just to wrap up that, you're going under for both, I believe. So that's an interesting tier in the East right there, though. That kind of 5 through 10 range is going to be really fascinating this year. And we're going to go to the second tier before we go to the top tier. The 76ers and the Heat. So the Heat are at 48.5 in every single sportsbook, and the Sixers are at 50.5 in every single sportsbook. They're kind of hovering around each other as well. The Heat's big move was, of course, acquiring Kyle Lowry in the offseason, trying to get them another piece. And then as far as the 76ers, their big thing is this Ben Simmons saga. I understand how well Philly was last year and how they just played phenomenally throughout the regular season, how good they were at home. But I think this Ben Simmons thing is going to catch up to them sooner rather than later. Year 2 of Doc Rivers is never as good as year 1 of Doc Rivers. I don't like this Philly team. I mean, Tobias Harris is probably going to be relied upon too much. losing Ben on defense probably isn't going to be the biggest deal in the world, but I think in fast break it might be an issue. It really depends on, their bench. Is Tyrese Maxey going to be a part of a Ben Simmons trade? They swapped out Andre Drummond and Dwight Howard, which seems terrible. I think Dwight really was good for this team in parts last year. And I don't think Andre Drummond's going to be good for any team in parts any year.
He ain't going to do what Dwight did for him.
Have you seen his look in preseason? He looks humongous. Remember Greg Monroe? I think he's doing his best Greg Monroe impersonation this preseason. Another UConn guy. He looks terrible. Regardless, I don't like this 76er team at all. This Heat team, I like in the regular season quite a bit. I think playoffs is going to be a different story, but I really like what Lowry can bring to the team. I think he's not going to change this team like he could have changed another team. I would like to see him with a younger group of guys and really elevate their play a little bit, but I understand why he went to Miami.
You don't believe in a Heat culture?
And that Heat culture, baby, that all-important Heat culture, man. You got to love the Heat culture. And then, Miami also got PJ Tucker, who averages negative 3 points per game. So there's that end of it. Wayne, we're going to start with you again. The Heat, 50.5. The 76 actually changed that. The Heat are 48.5. The 76ers are at 50.5. Both teams trending in opposite directions, in my opinion. Talk to me about both of them. I know you were a big 76er guy last year. This year, a totally different story, though.
Yeah, the Knicks. The Sixers about to drop off a little bit. They cool, but they're not going to do what they did last year. So I think they drop because we know Ben's not going to be there. But what are you replacing him with? We don't know. But whatever it is, it's not going to be good enough to get you to the Eastern Finals. So with that in mind, I got them hitting the under. And I was a Ben Simmons guy. I still like Ben Simmons. He's cool, but I was nowhere near as high on him as I used to be. So
as you should be.
What you get back for him, I'm not sure. I still like Embiid, but the thing with Embiid, you don't know how often you're going to get him because, he got health problems. Doc Rivers is that bag of chips in your cabinet that you forget to close. Like, it's really good, but when you go back to it, it's not the same.
He's the celery with the buffalo wings. It's like
it gets a little stale.
He's not even carrots.
He's the celery. You kind of have to get him, and he's a part of a great meal, right? And then the meal's done, and it's still there. And it's like, oh, we still have to deal with this? And it just lingers, and it stays on the plate until it gets thrown away and recycled, and then you use it again. Deonta,
that's why I got them. And I'm as far as the Heat, man.
Yeah,
I got the Heat. I mean, I don't know what the numbers project, but I got them over. I got the Heat in the Eastern Finals with Brooklyn. I think they about to shake it in the Eastern Conference. I got them close to about 60 wins, 55, 60. So, yeah, over. I'm got over, yeah.
So 55, 60 wins. Sorry, I just had to marvel at that. Deonta, you are like, if there was an opposite of my SGA fandom, it'd be your hatred for Doc Rivers. So I can't imagine your 76er love is high this year in year two of the Doc experience.
So, like I said, Doc Rivers.
Can I bring up one question quick before you start? Would Doc Rivers have a job if he didn't win in 2008 with the Celtics?
No.
Okay.
No way in hell. So yeah, Doc sucks. Embiid is great. I love Embiid. I wish he could stay healthy. Ben sucks. The Philadelphia sucks. Under Miami. I love Jimmy Butler. Wayne, I'm being so serious right now. I hate Doc. I hate Philly, and I hate Drummond too. Why did they sign Drummond? What
that's the beauty of it. I didn't even know you hated Drummond, but that's the beauty.
I don't hate Drummond. Just what does Drummond do?
He sucks. I mean, he just sucks. I'm sorry. He hasn't been good in like 3 years. Wayne's falling asleep on Drummond out here, and I understand why.
No, I like Drummond. I mean, but he's not what he was. But yeah, I'm with y'all on Drummond. Yeah.
As far as Miami, shit. I mean, sorry. Bam. I love Bam. Jimmy Butler is one of my favorite personalities in the league. It's just a matter of can he stay healthy? Because I remember he had a couple different injuries last year. Kyle Lowry, I don't get the move. On paper, it looks really, really nice. I don't get the move. PJ Tucker.
That's a Heat culture move. That's all that is.
You're gonna put him. Look, if they make the conference finals versus Brooklyn, you put in him on Kevin Durant again. Let's see how that goes.
Well,
yeah.
Milwaukee won the series for whatever it's worth.
So I mean, Harden and Kyrie were out. So let's just keep it real for a quick second.
Just saying.
Look, I'm taking over. Heat culture is a load of shit. Okay, they have some good players that play hard. It's crap. Okay, they had 2 good years, with the exception of D Wade's year where they won the title. With any sort of Heat culture, okay, LeBron was the culture. And back in the day, Dwayne Wade was the culture. There's no toughness year where they won anything remotely close. The only toughness year they won anything was the Eastern Conference a few years ago in the bubble, which is like the biggest anomaly going. So let's get that out of the way. I really like the Heat team. I really love Tyler Hero. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. They should exceed their win total in the playoffs. I'm a little worried for them. I'm a little worried about Jimmy Butler staying consistent throughout the year. Same with Kyle Lowry. But I think as a regular season team, they're really talented. And they got some dogs. No Heat culture, though. It's bullshit. And PJ Tucker, you should be lucky if you last the whole season. I'm
all in on the Heat culture, but I understand. I understand.
As far as Philly, this team's a joke. You're paying Tobias Harris too much money. You're going to have to get something of value with Ben Simmons to get rid of him at this point. Daryl Morey, you think you're smarter than what you actually are. You want to, do this out of a position of strength and out of a position of weakness. You're never going to be in a position of strength anymore. If Dame's asking for a trade tomorrow, they don't want Ben Simmons back. If Washington's asking for a trade tomorrow, they don't want Ben Simmons back. Ben Simmons sucks at this point, okay? And he could revive himself, but it's not going to be in Philly. Get over it. This is going to be a saga that hurts the team throughout the year. I think they lack a third banana between Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid. And if we're relying on Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid's health, particularly Embiid's, I'm not here for it. And Doc Rivers is your head coach. So I'm going under. Yeah. And I'm going to go over for the Heat.
Hold on. So let me ask you this real quick. Are you a bigger believer in New York or Philly? Just asking for a friend.
Oh my God.
Can I hedge and say neither? I mean, I guess I'm a bigger believer.
Because you didn't have that kind of, you're not really high on New York either, but you didn't have that kind of venom for New York like you did Philly just then. So I just had that.
I guess I'm higher on New York's future potential, and I guess I'm higher on the 76ers just this year winning more games just because they have better talent on their roster.
It's Joel Embiid.
And mainly that guy. But
it's Joel Embiid or bust. And I was about to ask you, would you consider what's his name? Tobias Harris a third banana, or is he like a
I ranked Harris 40th in the league, and I was trying very hard to find someone to replace him. I mean, it was like,
was he a pair? Like,
is this really the 40th best player in the league? And I was like, well, probably he'll be out of the top 40 midway through the season when someone ascends. But regardless, we have only 2 teams left. Let's finish this strong. It's the 2 best teams in the East, 2 of the best teams in the entire league, the Bucks and the Nets. Their win totals are kind of irrelevant. They're around the same. The Bucks 54.5, the Nets 56.5. Just what team is going to win more games? Now, there's a lot to go along with this. We're not going to do the Kyrie dance. I don't give 2 shits about him. If he plays, he plays. If he doesn't, he doesn't. Yeah, I'm not opening that can of worms, okay? I don't think it really matters regardless. So it's just with Harden and Durant against Giannis, Middleton, Holiday, DiVincenzo is going to come back for the Bucks, and the Nets got a little bit better on their bench. They get Patty Mills. They get another, full season of Blake Griffin now at this point, who was so important for them last year. They do lose Jeff Green, who was ultra important for them last year as well. But it seems like the Nets really shored up their bench. But this is going to be a battle again. These look like they're going to be the teams that really determine who's going to go to the NBA Finals from the East, if all things are considered. Just quickly, let's not waste too much time about it because we're going to talk about them all season long, and we might do a championship thing later. But what team is going to have more wins this season? the Nets or the Bucks, just in the regular season. Again, that doesn't really matter towards the championship, just in the regular season. Wayne, quick, which team?
Brooklyn.
Deonta.
Bucks.
I think I'm going to go with the
Keep
Bucks
top
just
record.
because I don't trust the Nets' health. I think KD's the best player in the world
That is exactly what it is.
right now, but I just don't trust Harden and KD for playing the majority of the season. And I like both of them a lot. I mean,
Is Kyrie showing up?
the Nets are the only team in the league that I had two players in the same team in the top 10. I have KD right now marked as the best player in the world, and I have Harden at 8. But, I just don't see either of those guys staying healthy for the long run in the regular season. Now in the playoffs, it's a different story, and we'll see when we get there. But that's going to wrap it up for the Eastern Conference. This was a lot of fun. I mean, we have the over-unders for every single team here, and I really like a lot of these Eastern teams. I think this is going to be a fun year of Eastern Conference basketball. The West, the Wild Wild West, may not be as good as the East, in my opinion, but it's a little more parity-based. Deonta, Wayne, they did their thing. I did my thing. Make sure to follow the Sports Wave official on Instagram, Sports Wave Media on the Twitter, and check out our new look website, thesportswave.net. I was Xavier Aguiar. Make sure to like and subscribe on the podcast network, on YouTube, wherever the hell you're listening, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Shout out to Corey Crispa.